So when it comes to healthy relationships, setting boundaries are very, very important. On today's message, I'm going to talk about the boundaries that you must set in every relationship. In today's message, we're going to talk about boundaries that you must set in every relationship. And you need to have these boundaries. These boundaries are important whether your relationships, whether it's with family, friends, romantic lovers, relationships with co-workers, associates. You want to create these boundaries. What I'm talking about today are boundaries that you can begin to apply in every relationship. And so I'm going to talk about how when you overgive, you can deplete yourself. See, this is why you need boundaries, because if you overgive, you can deplete yourself. And so when you learn how to say no, you'll suddenly find this flow in your life. You will find more ease in your life. It will help to guide you to make decisions that serve you more versus you just overgiving. You just overgiving, doing it all, saying yes, overextending yourself, feeling exhausted all the time. So when you learn to create these boundaries, it's going to help you to be able to make better decisions for your mind, body, and spirit, for your health. One of the first tips we're going to get into is saying no. Because when you learn how to say no, that is going to be a game changer in your life. Saying no is a complete sentence. It's okay to say no and that be it. See, a lot of times we feel like we need to, specifically give details or a background story on why we're saying no. Let your no be no. No is a complete sentence. And if somebody can't accept your no as being enough, then that's not your issue. It's not your issue to try to get them to understand why your answer is no, but just own that no and that be enough. Learn how to stand on what's best for you and move forward in that, because healthy boundaries are essential for healthy relationships and for your mental health. If you want to have healthier relationships in your life, you want people to have more respect, you want them to consider your priorities as well, you got to learn how to create healthy boundaries. You got to teach people how to treat you. And you do this by having boundaries. You do this by saying no and letting that be clear. But a lot of people feel bad. And some of y'all watching, let me know if you relate. But when you say no, you feel bad. You feel like, are they going to be mad at me now? What am I going to do now? What can I say? Can I change it? You just be honest. It's okay. Because I've been there. I'm telling you, it took me some years to get to where I am today, y'all. I ain't always been in this place of creating healthy boundaries. When you can own your no and know that it's enough and know that, the people who are for you, they're going to serve, they're going to support you regardless of whether you say yes or no. The ones who are really for you, the ones who are really your lifetime relationships, they're not going to be bothered with your no. They're going to be okay with it. The only time someone is bothered with your no is when they're only focused on how it can, benefit them. When they're not really fully there for you. They're not really fully supportive in your life. So it becomes a problem. Listen, you want to say no because you want to figure out, are you really here for me fully? Are you really committed to this relationship even when I have a no as my answer? Are you really fully in this relationship even when I'm not available to serve your needs all the time? So you want to know that, because relationships are going to be tested and you're going to have different seasons and things you go throughout life. And so you want to know that you saying no is not a make or break of a relationship. And if it is making and breaking your relationship, then you need to sit back and analyze, is this the right relationship for you? Next boundary, don't expect seasonal relationships to be permanent. Everybody that come and enter into your life are not supposed to be permanent relationships. And you got to be okay with that. You got to understand that everyone serves a purpose. They have a certain season. See, a lot of times what a lot of people do is they attach to relationships that aren't meant to stay. Sometimes the relationships are just passing through. Sometimes these are seasonal relationships that are meant for you to learn a lesson and evolve and grow in order to be ready for that next level. Get that. Just understand that this may be a seasonal relationship. Accept it for what it is, but don't try to force it to be something permanent. And you do this just by taking your time. I tell y'all all the time, take your time in your relationships. Get to know people. Listen to people. Feel them out a little bit. See how they respond to certain boundaries you have. See, give yourself some time to really get clear and get an idea on the person you're dealing with before you get fully involved and attached to a relationship that is not supposed to really be permanent in your life. Maybe this is a temporary relationship. This is a relationship that is seasonal, that you want to be your main thing. You want this to be it, right? You want this to be the one when they're actually just passing through your life to prepare you for the one. So I'm going to say that again because I really feel like, I can't hear y'all, but I kind of feel y'all as I'm speaking this message. And so when I just said that, I felt something, somebody really needed to hear that. But you think this person is the one. You're trying to force this relationship to be the one when they're actually passing through in order to prepare you for the one. See, there are lessons in that relationship that you need to learn so that when the one is there, that's the one, right? And so it's okay. But listen, stop making, just because you had those failed relationships that weren't the one, don't make those your identity or, I just have all bad relationships. No, learn the lesson that they were there to teach. They didn't know they was teaching you. But listen, if you learning, they your teachers. I learned my lesson when I messed with that person, right? How many of y'all said that? I learned my lesson. Oh, I know better now. They were your teacher. Learn the lesson and allow them to pass through on that seat in that temporary season that they're there for, so that they can prepare you for the one. And now it's time for you to make room for the one. Because when you go through those bad relationships, one thing I can say, they set you up to know even more what it is you really desire. Those bad experiences set you up even more to be even more wiser, to even be even more aware of real love. And so learn the lesson. Learn it and allow yourself to evolve and move into what's for you next. All right, now my next tip. Don't make someone else's issue become your own. All right, this is a boundary you need to set. You need to not stop allowing other people's issues to become your own. Other people's problems to become your problem. Other people's struggles to become your struggle. See, you can be a friend for people. You can be loving for people. You can be supportive to people without taking on their issues. You don't have to take on their issues in order to be a good friend. You can be a good friend, encouraging, loving, supportive, but still create boundaries so that their issues don't become your own. See, a lot of times we attach ourselves emotionally. We like, that's my friend. Well, they going through this. Be there, support them, love them, care for them, nurture, whatever you can do that. But don't deplete yourself. Don't lose yourself or your identity in trying to fix and solve their issue. Their issue is for them to learn and grow through and to work through. Now, yes, Be supportive. They're going to need other people to support them and cheer them on. That's wonderful. But you don't have to become the issues that they're carrying. So you got to know how to have those healthy boundaries in place to protect yourself mentally, to protect your mind, body, and spirit, and to know how to continue to have healthy relationships as you move forward in your life. Now, let me share this excerpt from my new book, because I know every last one of y'all watching, you already pre-ordered your copy of Sis Be Nicer to Yourself, right? So I'm going to read this excerpt in the book. It says, codependent relationships are when you excessively rely on another person emotionally and psychologically. It's when you believe you cannot healthily function throughout life without another person. There are two roles of a codependent relationship: the victim and the fixer. The victim is often the one in need. The victim is addicted to being rescued. However, the fixer is addicted to solving problems. The fixer is often exhausted, depleted from working so hard to fix everything and everybody. And that's in my book, Sis, Be Nicer to Yourself, How Self-Sabotage and Codependency Blocks You from Manifesting Love, Happiness, and Money. So you want to go ahead and pre-order your copy, because, oh my goodness, and you get the free masterclass when you pre-order your copy. This excerpt, as I was writing this chapter in the book, oh my God, this was just so many revelations. So much came to me in writing this book. One of the things I noticed is that we can all get caught up in both roles. Sometimes we're the victim, where we feel like things aren't going right for us. We need help. We need to be rescued. We need something outside of us needs to happen, something conditional. Or we feel like we're the fixer, where we're trying to, solve all the problems. We got all the answers. Oh, somebody's going through. Oh, let me fix this. Oh, we have this issue going on, this situation. Let me fix this. And so we overdo it. We overwork ourselves to fix things. And so we want to fix the whole world. But the reality is, start with fixing you. You don't have to fix everything and everybody. You don't have to even need to be rescued. Really, when you learn to go within, you learn so much. And so it's more to share in the book, y'all. But yes, that's the excerpt. Sis, Be Nicer to Yourself. So you can pre-order your copy. My team posted the link in the comment area. sisbenicertoyourself.com, and you can go ahead and get that book. Now it's time for Ask Rainie and Pat. My husband is going to join us.
I thought the message was good. Some of the things that really stuck out when I was sitting there, I was thinking about your second point, where you said don't expect seasonal relationships to be permanent. And I was thinking about how easily it can be distracting to even be on social media, how people want to reconnect and want to come back in your life and want to see what you got going on and all that stuff, and how that can be such a distraction. How that can be distracting from you preparing yourself for what you're trying to do and where you headed,
That's true. Yeah. I think social media can be very distracting. You just gotta really learn how to turn certain things off and create boundaries, healthy boundaries when it comes to social media as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Question.
So the first question is, how do you heal yourself until you can get away? I'm so tired of feeling depressed and having anxiety every time I talk to my ex or see him. Now, how do I heal from years of verbal abuse?
First of all, she said her first question was, how do you heal yourself until you can get away? So I'm thinking he's still in her life. Maybe he's living with her, and every time and it's just really toxic, or maybe they have children together. But there's a way that you really need to create a no contact zone when you're dealing with a toxic person, a toxic relationship. And then when it's verbal abuse, because verbal abuse is not only toxic to your environment, but it does something internally. It shapes you mentally. it affects you psychologically. So you want to begin to start working on your healing, your self-care, speaking positive affirmations, doing mirror work. I don't know if you guys hear about mirror work, but when you look at the mirror and you speak positive things to yourself and you listen over and over again to positive affirmations and you reprogram your thinking. Because what happens is you have these thoughts on autopilot. When you go through verbal abuse, you're constantly hearing those negative thoughts that you were told you wasn't good enough, you're lazy, you're not smart, all of those things. So you want to begin to speak words of life. Speak words of life over yourself is so important, and you'll see a difference in your life as you begin to build yourself up from the inside out. When I tell you that was my path to healing from depression, just really having that routine to speak over myself, to meditate, to do the affirmations and do the journaling and really heal from old stories, change old stories to be more victorious and not the victim story. Doing that inner work is so important.
Yeah. And I think like you've been mentioning throughout the day, you got to set boundaries in relationships, because even when I think about the question, how do you heal yourself until you can get away? Oftentimes people deal with this when they have a child with the other person. Mm-hmm. But I think that it's so important to make sure you're communicating boundaries and things that you feel are acceptable in the togethered effort of raising your children, so that you don't put yourself in a situation where you can still be verbally abused and be in a toxic relationship with someone that you aren't in a true relationship with. Yeah. When you're co-parenting, that's a job that you have, a responsibility that you have together. But I think it's important to set the appropriate boundaries to say, I'm not going to be dealing with this. I'm not going to be dealing with that. The purpose of this relationship is to raise up our child in the best environment so they can have both parents. But my role in this is not to be subjective to your feelings of how our relationship didn't work or whatever you feel about me. So I think that no contact zone is important. Mm-hmm. I think setting boundaries is important, and communicating those things and having a no tolerance for that type of behavior. That also helps you protect your peace and protect your mind when it comes to dealing with that person in between dealing with your children. Question number 2. How do you know if you can trust a person when you are just meeting them? Some people are not meant for you, but how can you tell?
That question brings me to what we talked about as far as seasonal relationships. First of all, like I said earlier, take your time and get to know people. Take your time to get to know you, because if you're not good with you, if you're off and you're confused within yourself, it's going to be very challenging to discern when someone else isn't right. And sometimes when you're in a place where you're empty and you feeling depleted, like you're lacking something, you can have this desperate energy to where you kind of almost make quick decisions with relationships. You quickly, get into relationships with certain people you just meet. Now you're spending all this time with them, or whether it's business or whether it's personal or whatever. Get to know people. Take your time. Analyze things. Listen well. Talk to other people that know them. Ask them questions about them. Figure things out. Pay attention. Don't rush things. Don't be so quick to open your life and your inner circle to people you just met. As you learn more about you and your vision and your purpose, you will understand more if those people align with that vision and that purpose. Because some people, they don't have that connection. They don't align with where you see yourself going in your life. You may see yourself married with a beautiful family, and this person never wants to be married, or this person never wants to have children. So you kind of pay attention to those things, the vision you have for your life and what this other person, their vision and what they have, and if that's a connection with where you're going.
I think about our relationship and how I knew that you were the one. that played a major part. You know, I think when you have conversations about where you want to be in your life, things that you aspire to do, and goals, and the fact that I can see myself being a contributor, being a complement to that vision and to the ideas, and you also being a complement to the vision and the idea and the plans that I have for my life. I think you got to see things in that way, but it's also a process. You know, it's nothing to rush into. It's nothing to say, oh, okay, we met yesterday. I told you what I want to do in my life. Oh, okay, now I feel like you the one. I think that it's a process to get to know people, to get to see how they respond in different environments and different situations. You know, I think you truly have to give yourself an opportunity to get to know them. Yeah. You know, and you don't know them all at once just from one interaction in one environment. You have to give yourself time to experience them in different environments, different situations, and get that perspective so that you can understand or, you know, see if that long term this is a relationship that'll be permanent.
Yeah, and create boundaries. Like, let people know they can't call and come over your house after a certain time. Because when you create these boundaries, you eliminate people who aren't meant for you.
Yes.
Because we had boundaries in the beginning of our relationship. And that's how I knew he was different. Because the boundaries that I had for myself, he respected those boundaries. He didn't try to pressure me to, you know, remove my boundaries or, you know, just do what he wanted. It was more of a level of respect. So don't let nobody talk you out of your boundaries.
Yeah.
Don't let nobody cause you to adjust your boundaries or move things around just for them. Because if they really want to be with you, like I said earlier, your no is not a make or break situation. They're willing to respect your no. When you say no, when you have boundaries, they're still there to want to be in that relationship because they see you for you. They're not just conditional.
We have to allow people to operate in the vision that they have for themselves. Because just like your last point about not making someone else's issues yours, I think in the same way, we can't make our vision someone else's vision as well. We can't make our ideas someone else's ideas. Just like we don't want to take on the identity of somebody else's issues. We don't want them to take on our issues. And sometimes we have that where we say, I see something good in this person. They ain't good right now, but I see something good in them. And I got an idea of how they can be in this relationship. So I'm going to project my ideas and my vision onto them. And I'm going to try to persuade or to put myself in a position where I can try to motivate or change this individual. But ultimately, that decision is on that person. You can't make the decision that this person should be a certain way and that you're going to insert yourself at such a manner in their life that it's going to cause them to want to change. You got to allow that person to be who they are, and you be who you are. You keep your boundaries, you keep your distance, you protect yourself, protect your peace, and allow that same in other people.
Yes, that's good. We have a question. Yeah, and that goes back with what I said. Don't get too attached because you're not going to have this desperate energy. See, you're learning how to take your time. You're learning how to see things fully. You're not rushing. You're not in that rushing pace where you making quick decisions. You know, you just met, you're on a date, and now you're in the bed. And when I tell you this, I'm talking about every relationship, even with business relationships that I have, people that I consider partnering with, working with. I take my time with them. I have certain boundaries. I have certain measures that I look at as far as like contracts and things I'm willing to do, or timelines and limits and things like that. See, you learn these things by not being so hasty and not just being so quick about making decisions and like just opening up, but just being willing to weigh things out and evaluate things and get clear on things and pray over things and really ask God for insight. And there are times when I say, God, show me, you know, give me a sign. What do I need to do? I'm going to take my time with this because I'm thinking this is the right thing to do, but something's there that's telling me to wait a little bit and it's more to see. And so really getting just evolving yourself to that level where you don't have to be desperate for anything or anyone, but you can be at peace with where you are, being so good and so content with where you are in your life. Even if you desire a relationship or whatever, you don't have to rush it. It's not a rush to you, and you're willing to walk away when someone can't respect your no, because you know that there's something better, and that, you know, God is aligning you with the right fit, and you don't have to compromise your boundaries to appease another person when you know something don't sit right in your heart.
I think that you'll be able to see that. You'll feel it. Mm-hmm. You know, just like you said, I mean, if something don't feel right in your heart, you know that there's a shift, that something is moving, some changes are occurring, you know, whether you see them physically or there are spiritual changes that are going on, you know, you'll feel it. Mm-hmm. You know, and I think that it goes down to like you said, when you're not operating in an energy, in a desperate energy, or energy like, oh, I need this, or I want this so bad, or I really desire this. This is on my goal list. This on my vision board. When you allowing God to move things in and out of your life, you're not too attached to any particular thing to where you're holding on to something that should have just been there for a moment. I think it was key that you explained earlier the fact that there are things that occur in your life that only prepare you for where you're headed. Even professional relationships, even some of the worst jobs that I had I not had them, I wouldn't have been prepared to elevate to some of the other positions that I had beyond them. There are moments where sometimes you may go through something that may be unpleasant. Sometimes you may go through things that are pleasant. But just know that regardless of how it may feel, you got to learn the lesson while you're in the midst of that, so that you don't get to a place in the future and have to circle back around to something that you should have learned when you were in a different place in your life. Same reason why the children of Israel had to circle around the wilderness so long, because they hadn't learned the lesson quick enough. It was required of them to be in a place that it wasn't destined for them to be in that long, just because they hadn't learned the lesson yet.
When it comes to a co-parenting relationship with a toxic ex, you want to begin to set boundaries on whether or not you're going to allow them to text you, whether or not you're going to answer their calls when they're disrespectful to you or whatever. If they disrespect you, you cut off some certain access. And there are mediators and other people that can get involved to help to continue the relationship that, you know, the parent has with the child, where you don't have to communicate with them one-on-one. You definitely can apply no contact with that relationship, but it would definitely need to be thought out, planned out. In addition, like I said, just protecting your peace. I've talked to women who had to block their ex. Like, basically, he has to contact the grandparents in order to make arrangement to see the kids or whatever. So I don't know how toxic it is, but whatever level it is for you, maybe it's not that toxic. Maybe it's just when they're around you, they say certain things, or you still healing, or you're still heartbroken and it's bothering you when, you know, it's hard for you to heal. I would just say to, like I said, make time for you and be intentional about removing yourself from that situation as much as you can. She said, how can she be a help to her sister who suffering over how her friend treated her? It sounds like whatever happened, it really bothered you, and you really want to be there for your sister, which is great, to want to be there for your sister and love your sister and encourage your sister. But one thing I would do is not take on that issue as your own. You can support your sister and be there for her and love her, but don't allow that issue to be your own personal bitterness towards another person. You know, learn how to protect your energy in that way, to where you're just focusing on love and supporting your sister. and you're going to do whatever you can to promote and support her. And whatever happened to her, you give that no energy, because whatever happened, it doesn't add value or take away value to your sister. She's wonderful and beautiful just as you see her, regardless of what other people do. So don't make that situation big or a big issue. Build your sister up and make her thrive, and you focusing on just being a great sister and friend and supporter of her, and that being enough. So I think a lot of times, like I talked about earlier, we want to be the fixer. We want to fix and solve problems and all of that. And sometimes it's not for you to fix the situation, but just to be a loving, caring sister for that situation and just being there to support her in that time.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's, being a support system, we can just be a light, but we don't have to be responsible for their burden. We can be a light, we can be supportive, we can be loving, we can be available, but we don't have to walk away with that same burden to solve or figure out why this situation occurred. Mm-hmm. We can be everything else without having to diagnose the issue.
Awesome. Well, this is a good show. Actually, I'm going to save the last question we have for our next show. Join us Monday, because we're talking about healing from toxic family members. You don't want to miss that show. Yes. So thank you guys for joining us. We really enjoyed this conversation. We love you guys. Be sure to like and share our messages with others. Listen to our podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we'll see you in the next show. We love you guys.
See ya.
See ya. Bye. Thanks so much for tuning in. I want to hear from you. What boundaries will you begin to set in your life to create more healthy relationships? Let me know. Leave a comment. Also, be sure to subscribe to our channel, share and like our messages with others. And thank you again for tuning in. We'll see you in the next show.